Hello ladies and gentlefolk, one of the biggest days to ever hit the Sonic community has finally landed, and that is Sonic Unleashed is finally on PC. Sort of. You see, for years people have been using Xenia and RPSX3, whatever it's called, to emulate Unleashed on the PC. Back in the day we used to use PS Now, which is something I covered a long time ago before that service got shut down. And the current best way to play the game was through the Xbox Series X backwards compatibility feature. That is until now. So how do you play Sonic Unleashed on PC? Let's go over it in the simplest of terms. So first things first, you're going to make your way to GitHub. This link will be in the description. And we're going to download the installer for Sonic Unleashed Recompiled. It's as simple as coming over to the right side where it says Releases and literally just pressing on Unleashed Recomp for Windows. You're going to let that install, save that where you're going to find it, and we'll continue on from there. Once that's all done and you've extracted the zip file, this is the content of the folder. And what we're going to do, we're going to very simply just press on Unleashed Recomp. Now I will give you a disclaimer before we go any further. You are going to need a dump of Sonic Unleashed, as well as the update file for the game, and as an option, you can have the DLC, and it's recommended you have the DLC just for the sake of compatibility, as there's known to be a crash in Adabat if you don't have the DLC, which is bizarre, but we move. There are plenty of guides on the internet about dumping Xbox 360 games. This is just going to be sort of a simple guide on how we can implement these files into the recomp and get it running with some nice settings. I'm not going to go over all that stuff, there'll be other tutorials to do that, so if you need to, go find them first. Same with installing DLCs, it's highly recommended that you do this using an Xbox 360, a data transfer cable, and obviously your Xbox 360's hard drive with all this content on it, because we don't condone piracy. Piracy is illegal. I'm not allowed to say go and pirate the game, because you shouldn't do that. So you're going to need a dump of the game, you're going to need a dump of the DLC, the update file, all that lovely stuff. Once you've finally got all that in your mitts, you're going to open Unleashed Recomp. And you're going to get this lovely installer menu. And it's super simple to use. You can use your mouse and your keyboard, or you can use your controller. But of course, we're going to use the mouse for the sake of simplicity. Select the language you would like to play the game in, which is English, of course for me. So, welcome to Unleashed Recompiled. You'll need an Xbox 360 copy of Unleashed in order to proceed with the installation. If you're wondering, can I use my PS3's copy of the game if you never had an Xbox? Unfortunately, no. So you are going to need an Xbox 360 copy of the game, and of course an Xbox 360 hard drive with the game installed on it. If you don't have that, you can easily just find somebody you know with that, ask to borrow it, do all that lovely stuff. But once we're here, it's going to ask you for the game and the update file. You're going to press Add Files, click the screen again, and you're going to find this. So in my case, I've got it all saved here. And I'm going to implement the game. There we go. I'm going to add the files, which is the update, which should start with TU, and it should be 19KA2OI, and a bunch of zeros and a 3. And once that's all done, if they found it correctly, if it's a good dump of the game, if you've gone through other measures, or if it's just the dump the game requires to run, as well as the update file, they will light up and you can proceed. And the same applies now for the DLC. You're going to add these things one by one. DLC files come in a bit of a different format. They've got this long name, and that's just simply their title name on the digital storefront. It's the technical name, essentially, sort of a file name. Once all they have been added, you can press next, and you're going to press next again, and the game will download everything to run, essentially. I don't need to do this because I've already done this, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to back out of this menu. I'm going to put everything back into the folder, because once you put all these things in this, once you run the installer and you've added all the files, the directory in your file explorer should now look like this, and when you launch the game, it will play the game. The game should just launch after it's installed anyway, but in the event that it doesn't, literally just boot up the same installer application, and the game, as you can see, is running. Sonic Unleashed, running natively on the PC. What a timeline. So, now that we're in game, I'm going to show you a couple of neat little bits that we can do in this thing that you can't on any other bits. So if you press install, this restarts the game to allow you to install any DLC you might be missing. You are not missing any DLC. You always press this first just to make sure that you've got everything installed correctly. So what we're going to do is now we're going to go to options. And in this recomp, we've got a lovely, lovely set of options here. This is what everyone wants an Unleashed PC port to look like. Lovely quality of life features, because obviously the game's now, what, 15 years old, 16 years old. It's well due. It's not overdue TLC, to say the least, because it's still a fantastic looking game, but it doesn't perform too great. It's not up to date with modern screens and all that stuff. So this is beautiful for everybody that wants to play this game in a modern fashion, rather than having to fish out old consoles or play it through Xenia with lag and crashes, and it requires a beefy PC to run, because the best part about this recompilation is that it requires hardware no more powerful than the 360 or the PS3 to run. You don't need a £2,000 PC to play this game. It's fantastic. So you've got loads of little features here. We can change from the Xbox to the PS3. The Xbox, if you didn't know, had a different time of day transition to the PlayStation. The PlayStation just had a spinny sun and moon medal, whereas the Xbox 360 had an actual cutscene. Now, the one thing that we really need to be looking at here is everywhere else. So, obviously, input, horizontal, vertical camera, you can change that if you'd like. It's your preference. Vibration on background input, so that is allow controller input whilst the game is unfocused in the window. So if you're not full screen, you can still play the game essentially. Controller icons, you can choose this yourself. For me, I'm going to use PlayStation. It's what I'm more familiar with. Coming over to audio, again, it's more of the same. You got obviously stereo and surround features for those that are playing with more, nicer speakers. The battle theme you can toggle on and off, which is a feature that many people have modded into the game before. Music sorry, I can't read today. Music attenuation is a feature that I've seen Twitter quite enjoy, and that's if you're using an external app such as Spotify and you are playing the game, the external media will play over the actual game itself, which is pretty cool. Now, this is the main meat and potatoes that we need to be looking at here: the window size, the monitor aspect ratio, full screen VSync, frame rate, blah 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 blah. All of this stuff to make the game look better. The option is not available in full screen mode to adjust the window size. It should automatically detect your monitor's size. For me, that's 2560 by 1440. Aspect ratio, again, is something that it should be picking up. You can either go to the originals, you can go to original 4:3, you can go to 16:9, which is widescreen. But again, 16:9 is the common one for most people, but it should be on that by default. The resolution scale adjusts the internal resolution of the game. If you look in the corner here, you're going to see the resolution the game is going to. Now, obviously, 2560 by 1440 is all my monitor supports, so there's no point in me changing that. But for those out there with 4K monitors, you can quite easily change the resolution to match 4K. And if you want to do that on 1080p monitors, you can do as well, but you won't see too much benefit out of it. It'll just cause you a little bit more trouble. Full screen on, of course, VSync on, of course. And now this is where the people are going to, they're going to love it the most. Frame rate. You can have the game run as high as 240 FPS if you have a monitor that high. In my case, I've got a 144Hz monitor, so I'm going to set the frame rate to 144 frames a second, which is beautiful. You got all these lovely features that you do get with your emulation and whatnot. As you can see, smooth out jagged edges. I want to put that on max. That's my personal preference. Same with this. You can choose how this looks. Resolution of shadows. Now, shadows, of course, are known to cause problems in some games, but depending on the strength of your PC, you can experiment with this until you find something you're comfortable with. I should be able to run it like this. Again, just flicker between the images, find what your preference is, and then save it as it is. I'm going to go bilinear. I think it looks a bit more vibrant. Motion blur is again something that you can either turn off, keep on, or enhance it. The enhanced version uses more samples for smoother motion blur at the cost of performance, but I'm going to keep it as it is because I think the originals is fine. And of course you can use the Xbox color correction. Use the warm tint from the Xbox 360 version of the game. Turned off, it looks like this. Turned on, the screen looks a bit more, well, warm. I think it looks better off. Cutscene aspect ratio. You can lock it to 16:9, or you can unlock it for widescreen support as well as ultra-wide support. If you have an ultra-wide monitor, this is the way to go for you. You can change UI alignment, you can keep it in the center, you can keep it on the edge. It's all personal preference, but as far as it goes, you're going to want to bump the resolution to the size of your monitor, and you're going to want to up that FPS to as high as it can go for your monitor as well. But that is it for the settings that you mainly want to be looking at. Now, I'm sure to everyone's delight, you can see the game running its in-game cutscenes at a wonderful 144 frames a second in beautiful 2K resolution. This is Sonic Unleashed Recompiled in its beauty. Now for the real meat and potatoes, the gameplay. Not a frame drop in sight, I'm happy to say. As you can see, this is running super stably. No one frame drop, no resolution dips, no graphical bugs. Life is peachy. Now it is quite important to stress this information, which probably should have said a bit earlier, I won't lie. If you were to play Sonic Unleashed on Xenia in the past, you obviously played this through Unleashed Mod Manager, before you start installing the game, please disable those mods. Disable those mods, because if you are trying to, install this whilst having that active, it will cause a conflict and it will not work. Unleashed Mod Manager will become obsolete because the Hedge Mod Manager will be compatible with this recompilation, which is beautiful. Now, as you can see, I'm on Hedge Mod Manager right now, and if we go to our drop-down menu, Unleashed Recompiled is instantly detected. If you have mods for original Unleashed Mod Manager, they will also work here. They can be downloaded again from Game Banana, and there are codes for the game already. Some debug codes and fixes and whatnot. One of my personal favourites is to enable homing attack on jump to have it play more like Sonic Generations, where you're not going to accidentally air boost when you're in it, trying to home and attack. It's beautiful, it's beautiful. But yeah, that is all you really need to know. It's super simple, anybody can do it. The hardest part is obtaining the files, but after you've done that, it's super simple and it's smooth sailing from there. Thanks a ton for watching, and I hope you all enjoy playing Unleashed on PC, because I know I certainly will.